Welcome back to Talking Hoosier Baseball. We are a podcast from the IUBase.com website for anyone wanting more information on the Indiana University baseball program. Today is Monday, May 6th, 2019. I am Chris Feeney, joined by the master of the RPI, Carl James, the creator of IUBase.com, Josh Bennett, but not the stats guru, Cassidy Palmer, today, as she's taking the night off, but she'll be back next week. All right, whether it's your first episode or your 40th episode, I'm glad to have you aboard. Yes, the Brian Hobby episode this week. No offense, Carter Bridge, but I'm giving it to Brian Hobby. It was finals week and graduation week. 6 Hoosier baseball players were honored as graduates: Scotty Bradley, Cade Bunnell, Ryan Feynman, Matt Lloyd, Paulie Milto, and Grant Sloan. Paulie actually graduated in the winter commencement, but they honored him, for the end of this season, so that was cool. This also meant there was no midweek game. We only had the very high-stakes series out in Illinois. The Fighting Illini was surging coming into the series. We were playing well, too. It meant a lot. We knew it. It could have meant, providing a host situation. Unfortunately, the Hoosiers could only come up with 1 run and 6 hits in the first 2 games. And even after Friday and Saturday, we knew we had lost the series.
We didn't do a great job of managing our at-bats and being able to really force a guy into a zone and work into or to the point where we were having professional at-bats. And that's just a journey that takes time. And when a guy like last night, that's a really bad matchup for us, just to be honest with you. It's a bad matchup, and it's hard for us to be able to really do a lot of damage to that guy. So you really have to be able to manipulate the zone and understand that you're not just going to walk up and get 2 or 3 good pitches to hit. You have to force him into an area of the plate, and we weren't able to do that last night. But I feel like we did a better job of that today, and really we did try to work to do those things, and we weren't able to do it as much as we would have liked to. But
now going into Sunday, I'll be honest, I didn't know what to expect. There's been a couple of series the past few years where we lost the first 2 games and even took a lead in Sunday, and then it went away, whether it was Tennessee, whether it was Minnesota last year. But this year, we took a lead behind Andrew Salfrank, and he pitched us through the 7th. We ended the week on a positive note. It ended up actually being our best RPI win of the year. So it, kept us in second place in the big, which was huge.
I thought our starting pitching was really good. Gave us a chance to win all 3 games. All 3 games are close, right down to the end. I think it was yesterday or Friday we had 2 guys on in the 7th and the 8th, the chance to win it. Yesterday certainly was a close game. And then today, Sally comes through and gives us a great start. I thought our pitching was terrific. We executed, played great defense. I think we made 1 error on the weekend.
Okay, now, even though we lost 2 games, lost the series, there were several Hoosier highlights. The one I'm going to go with was 2nd and 3rd and the 5th inning. Salfrank gets those back-to-back strikeouts. He was pumped up after that second one, too. The umps even had to warn the teams. He might have directed a little bit too much of it towards the other dugout. I love excitement on the mound. I don't love pointing at the other dugout, only because you never know what's going to happen. So, but when he bared down with those runners on base and got those 2 Ks, Salfrank was definitely my Hoosier highlight. What about you, Carl?
For me, I'm actually going to go with Sunday, Jeremy Houston's double play. I'm pretty sure that was around the 8th inning. It was just a matter of the fact that, you had the bullpen in after Salfrank's great start. There was a little bit of trouble. You had a base runner. Things didn't feel like you just wanted to see the game finally get wrapped up. And Jeremy takes that ball, doesn't even need to toss it. He gets it over to second base on his own, makes a great throw. It was a fantastic play, and everyone can kind of breathe easy because there you got 2 outs. You know the game is going to go the Hoosiers' way. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, thanks, Carl. My highlight this week is going to be Tanner Gordon's homecoming. I can't tell you how many Gordon 5 shirts were in the crowd, not only for his start on Saturday, but really the whole weekend. And he definitely had the biggest pregame ovation for both teams, and that was with over 2,000 fans there, and a solid majority were wearing orange. He had a ton of friends and family in attendance, as well as former coaches and teammates. So I'm sure he was amped up, but he kept it under control and did what he needed to do to keep his team in the game and give him a chance to win. He was solid with the line of 7 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, no walks, and 5 strikeouts. Just great work with the pressure and adrenaline rush of coming back, to pitch in your hometown. You you couldn't count the number of smiles and hugs after the game, a moment I'm sure he'll never forget. And I also want to mention something that happened in the 7th inning of that same game. Aside from Tanner's performance, there really hadn't been much to cheer for up to that point, as the offense was really struggling. But Elijah Dunham turned on a ball and just murdered a pitch to right field. I was even with the right fielder, right on the fence, and he gave the custom half-hearted turn and chase, knowing that he had no chance to get to it. It was a no-doubter, but there's just something I love about hearing a ball bang off a scoreboard. It's just one of those sounds that really sticks with you. So, Chris, it's time to give out the red belts for the week. Who are you going to go with?
All right. Now, obviously, there wasn't too many highlights from the first 2 days. So, there might have been one. We'll get to it. We're going to start off, though, for the offensive red belt, for the Alex Dickerson red belt, who's recently called up to the Padres. Let's not forget. So what we're going to do, we're going to give it to Eli Dunham, okay? He was 1 for 3 with a walk the first game, 1 for 2 with a homer. You know what I'm saying? He was 1 for 4 with 2 runs scored and another home run. Total for the series, 3 for 9, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, 3 walks, 3 runs scored. As a matter of fact, let's Coach Mercer talk about him for a minute.
Yeah, Eli's going to be a really good player. He is right now. He's one of the guys that really works in that bat, really works the count, does a good job of working a guy into his zone. Sometimes he can get a little bit pull happy, as a young hitter with some power often does. But Eli continues to grow and settle, and he listens and learns and tries to go out and apply those things into the game in real time, which is all you can ask of a young hitter. And he's gotten a lot better and will continue to be a good player for us.
All right, cool. So now you heard from Coach for the offensive red belt. Now for the defensive red belt, today is a particular Hall of Fame center fielder's birthday. He's 88 years old today. His name, Willie Mays. So for the defensive red belt, I think it's very appropriate that Matt Gorski gets the red belt for the Tony Butler Award. The catch he made over the shoulder, going out to center field, had to switch directions, puts the glove out. Unbelievable. It really was Willie Mays style. I mean, if you run your Twitter timeline around that time, you see it mentioned 4, 5, 6 times. Incredible catch. So on Willie's birthday, who's the next Met, by the way, we give it to Matt Gorski for the Tony Butler Award. And for the Joey Donato Award, this one for me was simple. You know what I mean? Andrew Salfrank, please. 7 innings, 4 hits, 8 strikeouts. Okay. He had some runners on in this game. Like, I remember back the old Andrew Salfrank, right? Runners would get on and you start to get nervous. Oh, he got a guy on. He walked the guy. What is he going to do? This year, guys get on. He bears down. He makes his mechanics on point. He does what he has to do. He's like a whole nother guy this year with guys on base. And that was really, I don't know. It just shows the growth in a pitcher, whether it's the player development, Coach Parker, I don't know what. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a pitching coach. Who am I? I'm a guy who yells balk. You know what I'm saying? But I could tell you this, Salfrank is a different guy this year. He's 7-1. He's got a 2.03 ERA. He's got 82 Ks in 57 innings. The Twitter, IU Twitter put it out. He's 5-0 with a 1.5 in the Big Ten games. So he stepped up big time. He gets the Joey Donato red belt. So for the week, it's Matt Gorski for defense, Eli Dunham for offense, Andrew Salfrank for pitching.
Okay, Chris. Well, Josh and I are going to want to chime in for some oven mitts. Josh, what do you got for oven mitt?
First, I'll say, Chris, you absolutely nailed them this week. Outstanding find with Willie Mays' birthday. Hey, I had no idea about that. But then you had to go and link him as a Met, which was a little bit disrespectful in my opinion. But you nailed him.
He's
a Met. He was on the Mets? Does he wear a Met uniform?
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't think the belts could go anywhere else. But there's something else that I think had a big impact on Sunday's game, even though it was behind the scenes. So the team, as you had talked about in the recap, Chris, had 6 hits combined on Friday and Saturday. And the leadoff hitter was Drew Ashley, who was 0 for 8 in those games and was noticeably disappointed and frustrated after his last at bat on Saturday. You could see it. So what did he do about it? Well, as Coach Mercer said in his post-game interview on Sunday, he saw Drew out with his dad in the hotel parking lot, taking BP and working on his swing Saturday night after the game. Well, I guess he or they figured something out because he proceeded to come out and get 3 hits and a walk in his first 4 times to the plate on Sunday. So DA is going to get my oven mitt for week 12. So Carl, who are you giving a shout out to this week?
Well, for my oven mitts, my shout out is going to be, I'm kind of going to piggyback off of yours, Josh, because you had Drew Ashley who got hits and got on base, but he kept getting replaced because Gorski would replace him with a fielder's choice, and Gorski ended up stealing 3 bags in the process, and Matt Lloyd got RBIs off of singles. So you have these two Matts getting these power guys who are doing, you know, the small ball type way of getting scores. So
and those are set up by stolen bases. So Matt Gorski gets on, not Matt's best day offensively, gets on base a couple times, steals 3 bases. 2 of Matt Lloyd's RBIs are because Matt Gorski realizes I can continue to impact the game positively without getting hits, steal bases. For Matt Lloyd, who's one of the best players in the country. Matt completely forgets about the last 2 days, goes to work this morning and last night, and really comes through for us in a huge way. 2 hits, and his first at bat was absolutely thumped. If the wind's not blowing in there, it's probably a 2-run home run. But 2 walks, 2 RBI hits. He's just an absolute professional.
You've got mail. 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 You've got mail.
All right, it is mailbag time, and we actually have a lot of questions, which is interesting because we do usually get a lot of questions when the team struggles a little bit. But strangely enough, that's really not the tone of the questions that we got. So here we go. So we'll start off. Jeff had several questions for us this week, and I'm going to throw this one to Chris. So, which Hoosier player has been the biggest surprise of the year, Chris?
Okay, thanks, Jeff, for sending in. He sent in a bunch. I appreciate Jeff. He always has some good feedback for the show too. He's actually the leader of the student athletic board. So they've got a couple games left. They've done a hell of a job this year. Way more students this year than in the past. They fill up those new section that they have, and really want to give them the drum guy Andrew, Danny. I know she's in charge a lot with giving out T-shirts and really making it an event. So thanks, Jeff and Danny and Andrew, the drum guy, however you want me to call him. But to answer the question, for me, it's got to be Grant Richardson. We followed him through his high school as he come up. When he had signed commit. But nobody expected this year one. We weren't even sure if he was going to play that much. I actually thought he might have been used out of the bullpen a little because he's a pretty good relief pitcher. Nobody expected this. I pulled it up here. He's got, 8 home runs, 31 RBIs. He has 70 total bases. And he's played an outstanding right field. With the loss of Logan Kaleta, you would think it would have hurt us more as an outstanding player as he is, outstanding outfielder he is, outstanding bat as he is in the lineup. But Grant Richardson has really taken the hit off of that, and it really could have hurt us losing Logan with the injury. I know he really was trying to fight back, and it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. So the biggest surprise for me is absolutely Grant Richardson. If I had to pick a sleeper, maybe another person who I'm just not exactly sure what we were going to get out of him. I spoke about him with the red belts, and that would be Andrew Southrank, because I really did not know what we were going to get out of him. So I wouldn't say it's a total surprise, but as far as surprises go, definitely Grant Richardson. And I got to give Andrew Southrank a little mention there as well, because, I never expected this. I didn't even know if he was going to be a midweek starter or what. 7-1 with a 2 ERA. You kidding me? That's a surprise. So I'm going to go that way. Another question we have here. Let's see. This is also from Jeff. If you needed 1 out at the end of the game, who would you want on the mound? And again, this one is for Josh.
All right. Yeah, that's a good question, Jeff. 1 out to get at the end of a game. Well, I think to everyone, Matt Lloyd has to be the obvious pick, and deservedly so. But I believe that Connor Manus and Tommy Summer have absolutely worked their way into that conversation, depending on the situation. And I could even see a situation at tourney game 3 or 4 that Paulie would be the go-to guy. And with a lefty at the dish, I could see Sally as the guy to use in that spot, come tournament time. You just don't know what's going to happen. Things are on the line. I would have every bit as much confidence seeing any of those 5 guys get the ball in a huge spot and when a Big Ten tourney game or regional game's on the line. Those guys have earned that confidence with what they've done this season. So, Carl, Zach asks, what is the probability that IU hosts an NCAA regional?
Thank you for the question, Zach. Unfortunately, I think the number is very, very slim. I would say under 5%. Basically, the team is going to have to run the table. There's 8 games left. You've got a 3-game series at Michigan against a starting rotation that each have an ERA under 3. Seeing the way that Indiana has done in those situations, I think the team can win. I just don't think a sweep is quite in the cards for that series. And then Louisville at home, and even Rutgers. I mean, look at the Penn State series. It's getting sweeps in this league is hard and has been hard for Indiana. And to ask for 2 sweeps plus 2 midweeks, that's probably pushing it a little bit. I am going to answer another question that came in very late, which came in from Aaron, which was kind of a piggyback of this one. Aaron asked, if Indiana doesn't host, does Indiana want Illinois to host due to the way the region impact is? And he makes a very good point, because it's very possible that Indiana State could also be a 2 seed. And Indiana and Indiana State could both be having to go to regionals as 2 seeds. And if Illinois hosts, that would very likely send Indiana State to Illinois as a 2 seed and allow Indiana to go to Louisville as a 2 seed. Which, in case you didn't know, Indiana can't go to Illinois as a 2 seed because you can't go to the same conference. So Indiana would have to go to like an ACC school like Louisville for the region. But there's a lot of ways these things can shake out, and it can get very complicated based on who ends up in what seed range. Chris, we have one more from Jeff. Situation: bases loaded, 2 outs. Whose hands do you want that bat in?
But he doesn't tell me, is it a righty or a lefty on the mound? Because that'll decide which mat I pick. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much my answer. You know what I'm saying? It's obviously Matt or Matt. You got to tell me who's pitching here. Either one, depending on the pitcher. Obviously, I'll take Gorski or Lloyd. Pitcher determining who's going to bat. Either one I would trust 1,000%. But I would, depending on the right pitcher, I would go Gorski or Lloyd. If I wanted to go someone off the hot list, maybe, or someone a little lower down, it would be Drew Ashley, because I feel like he can just put the ball on the bat and hit it anywhere he wants. He's got great back control, line drives, hit it the other way. So he would be my guy, a little, off the number 1 pick would be Drew Ashley. But you tell me the pitcher and I'll pick a Matt. That's pretty much how I'll go with that one. Let's see. Jessica asks, and this one's for Josh. In your opinion, what's the probability that IU takes 2 out of 3 from the Wolverines this weekend?
Thanks for the question, Jessica. Wow. Michigan's 14-3 in the conference. They've won 11 in a row and are 19-2 at home for the season. I used 2-4 on Fridays in conference play, even though Pauly has been great. Wasn't on him at all, but they've managed to win 3 of those 4 series when they lost on a Friday night. But I don't think it would be a good idea to try to stick to that formula this weekend, as Michigan has 3 really tough starters, all under a 2.75 ERA on the season. And Saturday's guy being a really tough and good left-handed pitcher. I didn't look at the numbers, but just to me, it seems like strong lefties really cause our lineup problems. The numbers may say something different. That just may be what I'm seeing. So getting Friday night would be a huge deal to win the weekend. Like I said, the starters are 21-7 for the season, with 217 innings pitched, so they go deep. They have a 3-to-1 strikeout ratio combined. But the silver lining in it is that, as you've heard Carl mention many times, Michigan the last few seasons has been really good at dominating weaker teams. Not just winning series, I'm talking about sweeps. 9 of their 14 conference wins have been against the lower half of the Big Ten this season. And when you compare common opponents, head-to-head, IU is 11-3, where Michigan is 8-2. So I think these two are fairly evenly matched. Michigan won't be facing a lesser opponent, and they aren't going to just boat race us like they have the others. Each game's probably going to come down to one pitch play or at bat executed, and whoever does that 2 out of 3 times will win the series, because I don't see this as a sweep either way. I'm not going to take the obviously easy way out and say there's a 50% chance IU takes the series. I need to make a stand one way or another, so I'll go with a 51% chance IU takes the series. That said, I think this will tell us a lot about how good this IU team is and what we should expect the rest of the way out. So since Cass is out, Carl has a little stat nugget he has prepared for you, so you won't be completely deprived of some interesting numbers this week. And then, Carl, if you don't mind, will you please just follow that up with this week's look at both conference and postseason resumes?
I sure can. All right. Well, for those of you who are on YouTube versus listening in audio, I'm actually going to share what I have prepared here. And I will try to talk about it as much as possible so I don't leave those that don't have the view behind. But this here is a spreadsheet that I put together this weekend, mostly because I was just curious. And looking at how Indiana's offense has done on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays in the Big Ten. And specifically, I was wanting to see, we know that obviously the team does a lot better on Sundays than they do on Saturdays, than they do on Fridays. But I wanted to find a way to level set that to how well do they do against how well these guys normally do. So I've got each of the teams. I've got the pitchers listed. This is their season earned run averages. And then I also put in the number of innings pitched that they did in the Indiana game and how many earned runs Indiana got. So I limit that to just the starting pitching. And then that calculates an expected earned run total, which you can compare to the earned runs. So in the case of this weekend, Andy Fisher has a 2.66 ERA on the season. He pitched 8 innings against IU, gave up 0 earned runs. Now, the expectation was, going 8 innings, that he should give up 2.36 earned runs, which means that Indiana did exactly 2.36 worse than the expectation. But even, in the half of the games in which Indiana did score against the Friday starter, and then basically what I do is I just add these together. So you have 40.33 innings pitched against Big Ten Friday hit against Indy in Big Ten Friday starters, scoring 10 earned runs. Now, the expectation would be to score 13.56 based on those particular pitchers' season-long earned run averages. So it means that doing slightly worse. You jump to Saturday, and those numbers reverse. Now, there are some specific exceptions. And in fact, if you look at the trend has actually been worse on Saturdays, with Minnesota's Sam Thornton being the worst performance, where Indiana did minus 2.86 runs below. But for the Big Ten season so far, it's up 3.78 runs over expected on Saturday. Now we jump to Sunday, which is a completely different story. Yes, these are not the strongest pitchers. You've got ERAs, all but 1 are above 3. We've got ERAs in the 3s, the 4s, the 5s, and the 6s here. 3.8 is the overall ERA of this group. And the expected earned runs and the number of innings that these Sunday starters pitched is 9.43. The expected earned runs per game. And it's actually been at 12.57. So it's a 12.57 has been the overage. So it means that Indiana has scored an additional 12.5 runs over what was expected. So yeah, that's a big deal. An 8.87 ERA basically for that period. So what this basically tells me is that these this Big Ten season, the Indiana has not only struggled against Friday guys, they've struggled more so than other teams have against them. And conversely, on Sunday, not only are they hitting Sunday guys, they're hitting them better than everybody else is. So it amplifies that situation. I can't speak to a specific cause for that. Some people might point to the approach that the current coaching staff has. And while I haven't run the numbers for prior seasons, we were talking about this same issue on the podcast last year under Chris Lemonis. So I'm not going to sit there and just say, yeah, it's this coaching staff. There's something about the makeup of this particular team that struggles against good pitching and absolutely punishes poor pitching.
Yep. It's good to have the numbers to back that up, though. Just like you said, that's kind of how we've been feeling anyway. But yeah, that's good. That's good. It makes sense now. At least we have the numbers to back that up.
Yep. All right. Well, now I'm going to go ahead and switch to a look at the conference and the postseason resume. In the D1 baseball top 25 poll, Indiana did drop out by losing the Illinois series. Illinois and Iowa get recognition in that top 25, which is a big. It's just, one thing that's nice for Indiana is the rise of Iowa, since Indiana swept Iowa to open the Big Ten season. The Big Ten has become kind of a circular firing squad, with Indiana sweeping Iowa, Iowa sweeping Illinois, Illinois taking a series from Indiana. Since that one happened last, that's got more of the recency bias to it, which is why Indiana finds itself outside the top 25. There was a huge surprise in the Big Ten with Nebraska dropping a series at Northwestern. This has been a very interesting Big Ten season, which has made Michigan quite happy, as they are the top of it. But Michigan now has Indiana and Nebraska to finish, and it's not an easy road for Michigan to finish, despite the fact that they do have a decent lead. There has been some discussion because Michigan is playing Michigan State in the midweek, and they are missing a game against Michigan State. That is not a conference game, will not count towards the conference standings. So Michigan is going to be one game shy at least, and the conference title will be decided based on winning percentage. So that can have an impact on, there's not likely to be a co-champion in this year. It's going to kind of be an outright deal. And it really is looking like Indiana's best hope is to sweep Michigan. But as we've been discussing, that is a really, really, really tall order to go sweep a team like Michigan. So the Hoosiers do control their own destiny. If the Hoosiers were to win the last 6 games, the Hoosiers are Big Ten champions because they catch Michigan and they hold everybody else off. But that's what they're going to have to do. Otherwise, they're going to have to hope for Nebraska to win the series against Michigan, which again I would say is a tall order from the team that just dropped the series to Northwestern. So as far as the Hoosiers' resume goes, I'd say it's solid for a 2 seed. Once you factor the things that are likely to happen over the next couple weeks, there's some teams I think that are riding kind of high in the RPI that are going to drop just because of the schedule that they're facing. That's why my real-time number has them as a 3 seed, but I think it's a pretty high 3 seed. And Indiana still has Louisville, still has Michigan, and a chance for a lot of wins. And I'm confident that Indiana is in a good position for a 2 seed and would have to basically have a disaster, like only win 2 more games and get bumped out of the Big Ten tournament quickly in order to be seeing a situation in which they did not play in a regional. But that's what I've got on the resume. Chris will go over info on future Hoosiers and go over what Pro Bowl Hoosiers have given us on Hoosier alumni.
All right. Thanks, Carl. For future Hoosiers, I tried to look up a little bit as far as guys who would definitely come in next year, right? We wanted to go, who's coming in the fall? And then recently with the reunion of Tanner Gordon back to Illinois, and he's from John A. So I took a look at the John A. Logan stats. We have 2 guys there, and The middle infielder Cooper Trinkle really stood out. First of all, Johnny Logan's won like 10 games in a row. They just had a couple of rainouts. They got to be mad because they are hot. And Cooper Trinkle is a big part of this right now. He's a 5'11", 180-pound middle infielder. He went to Columbus North, okay? Then he went over to Evansville. He was with them, but he transferred out to go to John A. to play his sophomore season. And then while he was already with John A., he had interest from Illinois, Central Florida, and Indiana State, but he chose IU. So he's going to be coming to us after this season. Right now, he's on a 10 straight game run scoring streak. Okay. 3 of those games are 3 runs scored. 2 of those games are 2 runs scored. And out of those 10 games, 9 of those he's had a hit, and 3 of them are 3-hit games, and 1 of them's a 4-hit game. He's batting in the 5 spot for John A. Now, I would think for us, he'd probably bat a little higher up in the order. He does run a bit. He's got 15 steals. I mean, he'd probably have more. He missed about 10 games with an injury. I couldn't see what the injury was, but that's minus 10 games, and he has 15 steals. So Cooper Trinkle, I would see him batting a little higher in the lineup for us, but who knows? You know, Kaleta batted cleanup for them, and then he came over here and he was leadoff. So you never know what might work out with the Mercer staff. But Cooper Trinkle's definitely a guy to look out for, a local kid, and he'll be here in the fall. And definitely not a local kid is the next guy we're going to talk about, Paul Tates at a Greendale High School in Wisconsin. Okay, he recently had a couple of big games. He's a 6', 180-pound kid. He's a third baseman, shortstop kind of guy, and he does pitch off the mound a little bit. But I would think he's going to be more of an infielder, maybe possibly third base. Recently, he had a home run and 5 RBIs in a game. And then the game previous to that, he had 10 strikeouts on the mound that got the win in 6 innings. But he throws in the mid-80s. Not that he can't get people out because we've seen that he is. But I think he'd be more of an infielder. He's a multi-sport athlete. Okay. He had 20 touchdowns as a running back last year for this Wisconsin team, who's in the highest level there is. And they won 2 playoff games last year. They basically got to the Final Four, or what we would call semi-state, I guess. He averages 110 yards a game. I've seen some clips from him. This kid is a bowling ball. I mean, he's just plowing over people. So I think he's going to fit in real good with Mercer's, athletic type. Will Ali's going to love him. From what I'm reading, he's a big weight room guy, real athlete. So we're definitely looking forward for Paul. That's Paul Tates. It's spelled Toetz. Apparently it's pronounced Tates. He'll replace Cade Bonnell, I guess, who then replaced Tony Butler. Maybe he'll wear number 4 also. I guess he's probably a big Packer fan too, Paul, but I guess we'll see. So that's it for the guys, future Hoosiers. Now for the alumni, it got a lot of press over the weekend, but I still wanted to mention it. Josh Fegley, an 8 RBI game. Pro Hoosiers put up a big article. It's on the site, but I wanted to mention it here. 8 RBIs. He went 4 for 5 with a bomb. He now holds the Hoosier alumni record with 8 RBIs in a game. It was held since 1952. April of 52. Ted Klusinski had 7 RBIs in a game for the Cincinnati Reds. So now it's Josh's record. And it's going to take 9 RBIs in a game to beat that. So I think Josh is going to have that for quite a while. Another highlight, Jonathan Stever picked up another W, and he's dropped his ERA down to 2.57. We mentioned him a few weeks ago that he was off to a slow start, but he's really settling in. 29 Ks and 8 walks so far for the season. And then one last one for the alumni, Pro Bowl Hoosier sent over. Craig Dietelo has got the average up to 325 now. 14 hits over the last 10 games. We mentioned him a few weeks ago that really only the power stats were hitting, but now he's hitting to all fields. His average is going up. So it's good to hear from Craig. Obviously, you can track all the alumni through at Pro Bowl Hoosiers. You can check at IU Base 17. I put out a lot of high school stuff, whatever I might see for that. But I guess that's it as far as that. And now with the upcoming week for the Michigan and Kentucky, we're going to kick it over to Carl.
Thank you, Chris. First is going to be tomorrow night going to Kentucky. Kentucky out of the SEC, they're having a bit of a down year, 23-24, which is caused mostly by their conference record of 6-18. It's one of those things when you play in the best conference in the country. If you're not quite on your game, it can be punishing. But don't let that record fool you. Take a look at their the midweek starter, Dylan Marsh. His numbers, he's at a 5.66 ERA, but he's really been trending in the right direction. He's had a couple of 5-inning, only two earned run starts, one at Western Kentucky and against And as these guys, you got a lot of freshmen, you got a lot of young guys that are going to be pitching. Then you take a look at their hitting. They've only got 3 guys hitting over 300, Kessler and Shin. These guys play in a tough league, and they have been tested week in, week out. And Indiana is a rivalry game, and it's a big game that these teams are up for. So Indiana's going to have its hands cut out for them against Kentucky. For the weekend series, we've already been talking about it a lot. The number 1 team right now in the Big Ten, 14-3 in conference, 34-11 overall, the Michigan Wolverines. And this is a team that is about pitching. Right-handed starter Karl Kaufman on Friday night. He's at an ERA of 2.3. His last 3 games have been all over 7 innings. And in those games, he's given up a total of 2 earned runs. So he's been pretty much lights out. A bigger headline is the Saturday guy, who's also a left-hander, and we know about left-handed matchups for Indiana can be a struggle. He's at a 2.75 ERA. And he has been hit a little bit more over the last few series. So he's not quite as strong as he was early in the year when he got off to an incredible start, where he didn't give up any runs, any earned runs until well into March. And that was against the number 1 team in the country. So he had a great start. Big Ten's been a little rougher for Tommy Henry, but he's still a very, very solid pitcher. And presents a matchup issue from the left side. On Sunday, you got Jeff Criswell, and this is one of those rarities. We got a Sunday guy at a 2.4 ERA. So Andrew Saalfrank's going to have his work cut out for him. He's going to have someone to go toe-to-toe with him. And he has been really, really good in conference, right there along with what Andrew Saalfrank has done, basically. And he's going pretty deep into games, and this pitching staff is solid. They can swing the bat. They've got 3 guys hitting over 340. Brewer, Nuago, and Nelson. This team is kind of defined by its pitching, but they can swing the bat as well. I don't know. On paper, you would expect a pitching duel this weekend. Oftentimes you expect that, and you end up getting something totally different. You just never know. But it should be fun. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in attendance up there in Ann Arbor. It's the first time I will ever go to Michigan. I have not been to Michigan before in my life, so it'll be my first time. And I know I'm looking forward to it. And I think this could be a really, really big opportunity for the Hoosiers to try to make a really big statement series win going into the postseason here. With that, I will hand it off to Chris for his final thoughts.
All right. Thanks, Carl. Well, have fun out there, man. Hopefully bring back some W's. We got it. 2 out of 3 would be nuts. I would take it. Everybody's with the sweep. Give us 2 out of 3. That's a statement. As far as final thoughts, I just wanted to address, I know a lot of people were upset Friday and Saturday, well, more so Saturday after the second loss, about how it kind of seemed like hosting was out of the picture and stuff like that. But I just wanted to say, don't take for granted June baseball, whether they have us playing in Hawaii or Albuquerque or Louisville or Vanderbilt. I mean, what this team has done over the last, if we make the postseason, would be, a second three-peat, right? It would be 3 in a row, then 1 down, then 3 in a row. And don't take that for granted. I understand the hosting. I want to host too. Everybody wants to host. But there's 16 host spots, and 8 of them pretty much are SEC and ACC. And this whole system is fixed, and it's slanted against us, and it's slanted against every northern team. So there's 8 spots for 291 teams. Okay? That's basically what it is. So hosting is not, it's a pipe dream. I would love it. And you know what? We were almost there. And could we pull it off? Like Carl said, we have it. We win 6 in a row. Destiny is on our hands to win the big and all that. But making the postseason, making the NCAA tournament is huge. And this coaching staff has put us in position, whether they built the schedule or not. I know Limo put a lot into this schedule, but what they've done to address and implement their approach and to bounce back from the early struggles, in the first month of this season, if I told you we were a 3 seed, you would have jumped for joy. So let's be happy regardless what happens if we make the tournament. Do we want to still hope for hosting? Yes. Was it upsetting, the offensive output the first 2 days over the weekend? Yes. Honestly, if you told me that we gave up 8 runs the whole series, I would have thought we swept them. And we lost 2 out of 3. But that's just the faith I have in this offense, and it's been so impressive. So I really did think we'd score more, but it happens. But my final thought is just whatever happens at the end of this season, if you see our name get in any bracket, be grateful. Don't take it for granted. This would be the 3rd year in a row and 6 out of 7 with 3 different coaching staffs. And I think that's pretty impressive. So that's it for my final thoughts. That'll do it for this edition of Talking Hoosier Baseball. You can read up on Indiana baseball at iubase.com. You can follow us on Twitter at @CUAtTheBart and at iubase17. You can leave us a review to feed the algorithms over there on iTunes and Google Play and all that. For Carl James, Josh Bennett, I'm Chris Feeney, and I'll see you at the Bart.
I'm going back to Indiana now to see my baby in her